Hi, it's me with Engadget, and this here is the Optimus G. In fact, it's three Optimus Gs. The one on the left here is Sprint's model. The one in the middle is the Korean model, the reference as it were. The one on the right is AT&T's model. And you'll notice right away that AT&T's is slightly different looking. We'll get back to that in a minute. First, let's focus on what these three phones have in common, and this is the big deal. All three of them are running Qualcomm's Snapdragon S4 Pro. That's a quad-core processor at 1.5 gigahertz with 2 gigas of RAM, all three of them. And this is like a powerhouse of a processor. The other thing all four of them have, as you can see here, is a beautiful 4.7-inch display. It's made by LG. It's called True HD IPS PLUS. It's 1280 by 768 pixels, non-pentile. It's really quite nice. It's not quite as nice as the reigning champion, which is the One X's display, but it's pretty close. It also has zero-gap technology, which means the touch layer is built into the screen. So that's a general gist of what is common with these phones in the front. In the back, however, there are differences as well. So let me point these out to you by turning these over. As you can see again, the AT&T model is kind of different. The Sprint and Korean model both have 13 megapixel cameras and a different camera pod than the AT&T. This one has an 8 megapixel autofocus camera. All three of these have sealed batteries. They're 2100 milliamp hour batteries, and they have 800 charge cycles. They're polymer batteries. So that's basically where things are at. Let's maybe focus on each of them one at a time and point out some of the differences. So let's get started with the Korean model. So this is a very beautiful looking phone in white especially. As you can see, the front is black, and somehow I locked it. And the three capacitive buttons are available down here, the standard fare. You get the back, home, and menu buttons. On top here you have the LG logo with the earpiece, a front-facing camera. It's 1.3 megapixels. You don't see it here, but there's a notification light. The Sprint model is identical to this in the front, but the AT&T model has a difference. The notification light is actually around the power button, which I'll show you on that phone in a minute. That's basically it for the front. I've already kind of shown you the back. This camera pod, it sticks out a little bit with a 13 megapixel autofocus camera. It's got backside illuminated sensor. It's got a 5-element lens, f/2.4. It's a very, very nice camera. A single LED flash. Down here is a speaker. This is just a standard little mono speaker. The LG logo, the Oli logo. Oli is the carrier for this phone. This is an unlocked version, but it will work on LTE for Oli KT's network in Korea. Now let me walk you through the edges. Starting at the top here, you have a 3.5mm headphone jack, standard fare, and a secondary microphone. But because this is a Korean phone, it has this removable antenna for digital television broadcast, TDMB to be specific, terrestrial digital media broadcast. So obviously that's only on the Korean model. You can't really do anything with this in the US. Then there's on the left hand side the power lock key. You can see it's very subtle, but there's a silver ring around that. Very, very nicely done. Nothing else on the right hand side here. And on the bottom you have a micro USB/MHL port, primary microphone, 2 screws that presumably if you undo you can get to the inside, which, sealed battery and all. And then on the left-hand side here, you have the volume rocker, as you can see. And then this tiny little SIM tray. I don't know if you can see it. There's a pinprick hole here to put a paper clip. And then it's a micro SIM hiding in there. So that's basically the layout. Now, let me quickly show you the Sprint model. I would just like to add quickly that this has 32 gigabytes of built-in storage. There's no micro SD storage on this phone. So let me show you Sprint's model real quick, and because it's very similar. Again, it's the same phone pretty much overall. You see the capacitive buttons, the front-facing camera. There's a bit of dust here. The speaker, the logo, front-facing camera. In the back, that camera pod with a 13 megapixel camera, the flash, the LG logo. Notice that there's no Sprint logo anywhere on this phone. This is very exciting. Again, the same connectors on the bottom, a micro USB, secondary mic, the screws on top, the headphone jack and the secondary mic, but of course no antenna here in the corner. Power lock key, you can see this silver rim much better on the black model. And on the other side here you have the volume rocker, but notice because Sprint's using embedded SIMs, there's no SIM slot at all on this phone. So that's again the slit here for the speaker. I'm not sure if you can see it. There it is. So basically that's what the Sprint one is like. Also 32 gigabytes of built-in storage, no micro SD card slot. Now let's look at AT&T's because it is kind of different, this one. First of all, the software goes to landscape in the launcher, which is kind of interesting in the main screen. First of all, it's wider than the other ones. Now, let me demonstrate by putting them all like this. You can clearly see how AT&T's phone right there is a few millimeters wider. It's not a lot, but it feels a little different in hand because of that. Not quite as slick, unfortunately. So then, what else is different? Well, the front is pretty much the same. Again, there's 3 capacitive buttons, back, home menu, the LG logo, the front-facing camera, but there's no notification LED in the front. Instead, it's around the power button here on the side, which is kind of an interesting touch. In the back, very different design. The completely flush camera. However, whereas the flash was flush on the other phones, this has the kind of a little divot with the flash in it. Again, this is an 8 megapixel camera versus the 13 on the other two. AT&T logo, no LG logo in the back, but there's one in front. Now what's really different is the size. As you can see, instead of kind of a flat slab-like design, I'll bring back the Sprint model for comparison here, you can see that it has this kind of rounder gunmetal chrome finish to it. And on top, you can see that it's got a matte textured finish to it, which is very, very strange. Why AT&T went with all this, bother with all this design change, we're not sure. So let's walk you through this phone, through the different bits and pieces. Headphone jack, secondary mic, this is exactly the same layout as the other two. But if you're slightly cosmetically different, you see the power lock key here, nothing else on the left. MHL micro USB connector, primary microphone, those 2 screws. And then on the left-hand side, sorry, I said right earlier, but I meant left. This is the volume rocker. Again, very different looking. And then here there's a flap. Let me see if I can open it to show you. There's a flap here that hides the micro SIM, but also has a micro SD card slot reader. So in that sense, you know, other than the different camera, the 8 megapixel camera, this is possibly a better design since it has a micro SD card slot. Only has 16 gigabytes of built-in storage because of this, though, with a 16 card supplied installed in the phone. So that's basically, in terms of hardware, all the bits and pieces. Of course, you know, you have the usual suspects. You have all the radios you can muster. You have LT on all 3 of them, LT for Sprint, which we haven't been able to test. You can see we're on 3G here, CDMA in San Francisco. You have LT and HSPA Plus for, well, LT for Korea and HSPA Plus for Europe on this one. Unfortunately, in the US, you're stuck with GPRS on this phone. For some reason, most Korean phones we've brought to the US have always not supported Edge. So this is a very painful phone to use in North America, and I'm mostly using it on Wi-Fi here. And of course, AT&T has the whole gamut of GPRS Edge, HSPA Plus for both the US and the 2100 megahertz band to travel the world, and Squad band for the GSM Edge, as well as LT on 700 and 1700 megahertz bands, which is AT&T's frequencies here in the US. You can see that I'm on 4G LT here, for us in San Francisco. So that's basically it. You get Wi-Fi, ABGN, Bluetooth 4.0, NFC on all 3. You get GPS, assisted GPS, basically all the things you'd expect from a super phone, from a flagship phone. Things wouldn't be complete here if I didn't mention the rumors we've been following that this design, this architecture, this general Optimus G, system phone will possibly, very likely, become the next Nexus phone for Google. I like to call it the Nexus G. Some people are calling it the Nexus 4, but it's basically based on the AT&T design, but with rounded corners that look more like what you'd expect for a Nexus design. There's no word really on LTE. It looks like it might not have micro SD, but it will potentially have LTE, potentially have a 5 pentaband radio for HSPA+. Who knows? We'll find out probably very soon. But this is why this phone is so significant. Not only is this one of the best phones on the market today, and really a challenger to the beasts that are the Galaxy S3 and the One X, but it's also the future Nexus. So, in terms of software, they all pretty much have the same, essentially the same build of Android 4.0.4, ice cream sandwich with a custom skin. It's this LG skin. It's very, it's kind of chasing Samsung in a weird way, but it's pretty lightweight and it seems to be very nicely optimized. It's not too offensive. It doesn't look the prettiest, however. So what's strange, though, I'd like to show you this is, let's just remove the Korean model for a second and focus on the American units here. So right on the onset, you'll notice that AT&T and Sprint have completely different UI animations. Well, now you can set these to be the same, but AT&T chose to customize this phone out of the box to be different. I've changed very little. I've put Chrome instead of the default browser on the loading screens here, but that's pretty much it. Other thing that's really annoying, let me just bring up the gallery quickly. Let's see here. We have the gallery, and the gallery is as well on this phone somewhere to be had there. Now let me go into the camera roll and show you, potentially took the same pictures with both. And let's just go here and notice that if I want to go to the next picture on this, I have to slide it to the left. Sorry, the previous picture, I slide to the left. For this one, the previous picture, I have to slide to the right. So there's an inconsistency in UI here, notice. So these were taken in the same order, but for some reason AT&T chose to go as far as customizing this. We're really, really not sure why. So, there's a lot of little intricacies. Let me show you more. In the settings menu. Okay, so this looks like a pretty much standard ice cream sandwich setting screen with a white skin. Well, observe here on AT&T. You have tabs. So networks is that first section, followed by settings. Like you got sound here as a separate section, and you have display as a separate section, which is right here on the Sprint model, etc. General is essentially what's left here under personal and system. So it's very, very weird. Why AT&T? I mean, they went as far as to customize the design physically of the phone, and they've done this before. But to go as far as changing the skin is kind of ludicrous, and we really don't understand. Given a choice, to be very, very frank and clear, we think the design on the left, the original Korean design that Sprint, unaltered, basically took as is without even putting their logo, is the way to go. This phone feels much better in hand than the AT&T. It's less wide, it just looks better, and of course, the other thing that, and this is more of an LG, perhaps an